Welcome Strategy Battle Gamers to another GBHL YouTube video. You're here with your host GBHL Damian, and this is my hobby vlog number 21. And for anyone who's been following these hobby vlogs of mine, this might not be exactly the one you're expecting, because you're probably expecting to see a completed Elrond. But in fact, I'm not going to be showing you that because I haven't quite finished it. The reason for that is I've actually come to my parents for a while, coming to visit them for a few days. And anyone who's been following these vlogs in the past will know that when I'm here, if I'm here for a substantial period of time, I like to try and get some cleaning up done. Because we're here for quite a few days, I've actually kind of brought some paints with me as well. So I'm kind of doing a bit of hobbying whilst at my parents'. But I wanted to bring back just one project I could try and complete. And so I decided to bring back more Mirkwood Elves. Mirkwood Elves have been a bit of a mixed blessing for me over my hobby vlogs of late. But I wanted to try and get these. They take ages to clean up, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to do it. So that's what I've been doing over the last couple of days. So as we have a look through these, I have basically got 11 of them cleaned up to the stage where all the flash has been removed, all the mould lines have been removed, and they're looking pretty good now. They're lovely models again. I've said this before, they are really, really good sculpts, but my god, are they tedious to clean up. One of the glaive ones. I've got 6 glaive ones here, 3 archers, and a couple of conversions. I'll show you this guy. I've actually deliberately left one not assembled to show you some of the issues. If I go on here, I don't know how well you can see, you've got kind of flash in here. This little bit there needs to be removed. All down here on the cloaks, if you can imagine, once you cut this off, you've then got all these little bits here to try and clean up and carve off. If you look in there, look just above the boot here, there's a couple of triangles that kind of between the cloak and the boot. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, so there's there. You can see another one there inside the coat. These big chunks at the bottom of the feet. Some of the helmets underneath the chin need to be removed. This one looks pretty good. They're really, with all this, I still know that they're really lovely sculpts. If you look at the detail on the face there for a troop model, they're really, really lovely, but it's just a huge pain. See there's a little air bubble on the bottom of that arm, and all these big chunks here on the back that are going to have to be carved off. And then we get the glaives over here, and what you tend to find with the glaives is it's quite hard to tell exactly where this ends and where the glaive begins, and sometimes where the point ends as well. So they're really frustrating, and I'd say getting them to this point, getting them to the point where they're like this, so they are cleaned up and the mould lines removed, takes about 20 minutes per model, something like that. It does depend on the sculpt, but they're in that kind of ilk, so it does take a long time. And you'll notice that at the moment some of the glaives are still bent, because I haven't done any of the fine cast reshaping. So I've got that guy. So I've been doing that over the last couple of days. I'm currently sitting here, it's 2 AM on Sunday morning, and I'm watching the tennis. The Rogers Open, Murray v Nishikori in the semi-final, and Murray's taking the first set, so that's pretty exciting. So I'm sitting here watching this late at night, cleaning up some models whilst everyone else is in bed. And they are great, and I'm happy with the progress I'm making, but they just take so very long. Another glaive one here. And then I got onto the shield ones, and this guy has been assembled normally. Again, he probably needs a bit of work on his sword. So we've got that. But the next two, I've done little bits of conversions. And what I have is, these are the sword and shield guys, but they have Galathrium arms on them. And the conversions aren't bad by any means, but the Galathrium arms are clearly a bit thicker. If you look, that arm there is thicker than that one. But I reckon by the time they're all painted up together, it won't look much different. And the reason I've done this is to have a couple of dismounts for my Rivendell Knights. Similar one here. I think this one's more successful. Got a Galathrium arm on there. So I've basically removed the shields so that if I ever use my, not Rivendell Knights, as I say Rivendell Knights, if I ever use my Mirkwood Knights, I can have a couple of dismounts because they don't have shields. So yeah, they're just the sword and shield elves with Galathrium, plastic Galathrium arms onto them. So they're fairly easy conversions, just a couple of old knackered Galathrium models I had lying about. but they're done for that reason. It also gives me a couple of war gear, a bit of war gear flexibility, I suppose, for when I'm building my armies. So there we go, those 11 guys have all got to that point there. And I can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. There's also, where was he? There's an annoying bit on one of their cloaks I'm going to have to do something about. Where are you? This guy here. If you look here, this guy's cloak there, I don't know how you can see, but in that crevice, you're looking right in there, you can actually see through it. It's very thin. Can you see the green coming through there? So I think that'll need a little bit of green stuffing. And there's also there's dodgy joins again, as you often get on the fine cast models. So you look at where that guy's hand joins his wrist. You gonna play nice? That needs a bit of work. There's a big chunk there. Some of the arms, particularly the glaive guys, that wasn't too bad, really. Yeah, that one, for example. There's a fairly big hole in there that I'm going to need to do a bit of green stuffing in because it looks too ridiculous. Some of them you can get away with, like where's the other archer? This guy. This guy's got a kind of join there at his shoulder, but I'll be able to get away with that by painting it just to look like a fold, so I'm not too worried about that one. But some of them definitely need some green stuffing work. So there we go. I've got 11 of these guys good to go. And the reason they're not glued to their bases, in case you're wondering, is because, again, they don't glue particularly well. So I don't know how well I'll be able to show you this with one hand. But if I put this guy here and try and put him on a base, if you can see this, no, you can't see this. What can we do? Let's try this. Let's try something new and exciting, guys. This guy here, and try and put him on a base. Hopefully you can see that to glue him standing up straight, his foot is floating here. To glue his feet down to the base, he's going to be leaning over, and you get this as a kind of issue with a lot of them, or at least a few of them. I could do this guy here. He'll probably be alright, but again, that's kind of, you can see that he's leaning back a bit, leaning on his cloak. I think one of the other archer ones there has a similar issue when he stands up. He's leaning forward. So again, they need to do some work on the fine cast there, just to bend it. So once they're cleaned up, and as I said, they've taken 20 minutes, they still have a bit more work to do in terms of reshaping things, like bending the fine cast, particularly glaives and blades, into position, and then green stuffing their the gaps. So there is still a bit of work to be done on these, and that is tomorrow's job. So I'm going to clean this guy up. I see that Murray's now 2-0 up in the second set, so hopefully he'll finish this in 2 sets. I'll clean this guy up, and hopefully he'll be done tonight. And then tomorrow I'm going to green stuff and fine cast them, and hopefully get them undercoated. So you should see another bit of this hobby vlog before you see it. That is the hope. And so I'm not going to sign off because I'm quite confident. We will see. And here we are. It is a day later. It's currently 8 PM on Sunday night, and I've made a bit more work on them. So yeah, if you're following this blog, I stayed up to about 3 o'clock yesterday, watched the tennis. Murray won, and he's about to be in the final. So I'm about to go down and watch that. So hopefully, maybe if I keep working on some models, I might encourage him to do just as well as he did last night. So I had another day of working on these guys today, and as you can see, they are now all ready to go. So what else have I been doing? As I said, I need to do a bit of work bending the fine cast and do a bit of work on the green stuffing. So a lot of the fine cast was on these glaives, most of which now look pretty straight. They weren't too bad. The way I tend to work with fine cast, I have 2 little bowls of water, one that's boiling hot and one that's cold, and I dip it in the one that's boiling hot until it gets all bendy. I bend it into the position, and then I hold it in the cold one until it sets again, and that allows me to get these hopefully quite straight glaives. So that's not too much hassle at all. They also need to do a bit of work on their feet. If I try and find what's a good example, probably this guy. If you look down here, the contact points on these guys are relatively small, So again, I hold both the feet in the boiling water, and then I just push the model down on the base so they bend into position, so you can get as kind of much flat area on the base as possible to give us bigger point to glue down. That's another good example, I think. You see that the bit touching the base is relatively small. I have to admit, as much as I like these, I do miss the days of the slaughter bases that were all so much more solid. So yeah, I had to do that, a bit of work on the fine cast to get that up. I also had to do a bit of green stuff work. These are annoying and frustrating. So for example, I don't know how well you can see, but I'm going to focus. This guy's cloak that I think he showed you that was quite thin has now got some green stuff on it. There we go. And inside the armpit to fill that kind of gap, possibly around this side. Yeah. So there's a bit up there. There we go. You can hopefully see. So that pose needed that. This pose always. This is my fourth one of this pose I've done now, and it always needs work around that wrist to fill that gap. What's going on with this guy again? Needed a lot of work. Well, not really a lot of work, I suppose, but some filling in that gap there. Just where these kind of fine cast multi-piece models don't really don't join up too well. That wasn't too bad. I think he's alright. Yeah, so there's that kind of thing. And then the two main ones I had to work on were these two archers, because to make him stand up straight, as you can see, that model's now stand up pretty straight. That's where his foot goes off the ground. You can see hopefully how much higher that foot is, how much higher his right foot is than his left foot. And because of the cloak, there's really not an awful lot you can do about that. You can't really bend it too far. You'd have to kind of trim the cloak off, and all the detail of the cloak is there, so you don't want to do that. So you have to kind of glue it down via the left foot and the cloak, and then just put a little green stuff mound underneath that foot there. And I have to do exactly the same thing with this guy here. So kind of, assembling these guys is a frustrating process. This whole bit here with these guys took me another couple of hours or so to get them done. I've also got these two spare shields now, which came off from the arms of these guys. So these guys originally had shields. I told you in the previous clip about converting them, and what I did was just basically carve off the arm. You can still see what's left of it. Can I focus on you? There's a little bit left in there, but it's pretty flat now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give these guys to the glaives. So we're looking into this. I'm going to basically put that on. Can I balance this? Is it going to work? Is it going to play nice? What are you doing? This is going to go on there somewhere. Yeah, it'll end up looking like that, something like that. And I've been playing with these guys a bit over recent months, and I think I've worked out that giving Mirkwood Elves glaives and shields is their best kit out. I think you can do it. I've been looking into this today actually. I haven't actually got my rule books, but I've been having a chat with a few people, and I think you can do it and get the defense bonus. I don't think it's like giving them a bow and a shield so they couldn't. And the reason some people might think it's a waste of points because buying the glaive already allows them to shield, but if you think about it, the giving them the extra point of defense is really, really useful. And then the glaive costs 2 points, and I'm essentially thinking of it as you paying 1 point to get an elf blade and 1 point to get a spear, and then you buy the shield on top of that. So they'll be quite expensive in the end of it, but I reckon Defense 5 Mirkwood Elves with spears and elf blades are probably the most effective kit out for these guys. So that's what I'm going to use those two shields for there. So there we go, they are finished. I also cleaned up something else which is going to come absolutely out of left field for you. You're probably a bit surprised by this. That was these guys. Yep, I've got 2 bat swarms. So I ordered these in. Focus for me? Yes, that is the front. Go on, play nice. There we go, 2 bat swarms. And these guys they're really big. I was kind of surprised by how big these models are. But they're the metal kit from the Morrow Army, and I've had them for a while. I've wanted to paint them for a while to give my evil armies a bit of kind of competitive advantage, and they're quite cool models. And I had them sitting around in blisters, so I decided while I was back here and cleaning stuff up, I'd do them. It reminded me of how horrible an experience cleaning up metal models is. As much as the fine cast takes ages, at least it's a nicer process, whereas these guys, it's just horrible trying to carve mould lines off metal models. And I had to do a bit of green stuffing around the join there. You can see it on this one as well. Focus. I had to fill that join in there. But I'm pretty happy with those. So I don't know when I'm gonna paint those. I'll probably do them over the next few weeks or so. But you can probably look out for those. But they're not an immediate priority or anything like that. But kind of cool. They're a bit. I know Tom doesn't like these, but then he's an idiot, so what does he know? But they are a bit Warhammery, I think. But then, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what a giant bat would look like rather than this. They kind of look like big bats, so why not? So I'm going to get these guys painted up at some point. But obviously, my next priority is these guys. I'm going to take these out to the garage tonight and give them a spray, get them undercoated, and then over the next few days, well, I'm still back at my parents', I'm going to try and paint them. Now, anyone who has been following my hobby vlogs over the last few months will know that when I painted my first 6 of these, it took me a week, and it was a great success. And when I painted my second 6, it took me 10 weeks, and it nearly drove me insane. So I'm hoping for an experience closer to the former. I think I'm going to paint the glaive guys first, because they've got exactly the same equipment, so 6 of them. And my thinking about this is just having spears, so just a spear shaft, and the blades is a little less complicated than having to do things like quivers, bows and arrows, and shields. So my thinking is these ones should be ever so slightly quicker to paint up than the others. So that's my plan. I think I worked out that to do them all completely took about 24 hours last time. So if you knock off, I'm not going to be basing them here, so if you knock off maybe 2 hours of that for basing, that's 22, 6 hours for assembly. It might be down to 14 hours, so probably to paint them to the same standard the last ones, I need to put in maybe 14 hours of painting time over the next week, which I actually think is kind of doable. I've had a lot of hobby time in the last couple of days here, so hopefully I'll get a chance to do them. So yeah, that's my hope, that these 6 elves will be appearing in a hobby vlog next week, next Monday, and they will be completely painted except their bases. Of course, if I've made a start on these guys, that would be a delightful bonus. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do. So there you go, that's what I've been up to in my little mini break this week. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope I'll be back next Monday with 6 more painted elves. Until then, as ever, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. Support your Hobbit hobby. Follow us on Facebook and like us on Twitter. No, it's the other way around. Send money some Jamie on Patreon, and happy strategy battle gaming.